and I'm going into my fourth. So
Hey, everybody. Marina was just telling us that she's got a busy day. So we're going to get right to it. We're going to play our reel, and then we're going to tell you how to get real with quality sourced herbals. Marina, so good to see you. We just had an off week because we had the RPH Ally Soiree. Amazing. Loved it. The people are incredible, both the attendees and all the presenters. So amazing. Love that. Moving forward this week, Marina, what do you have that we need to make sure people know before we get into the episode?
I don't think I have anything to announce, but I also wanted to piggyback on the success of our soiree. I thought it was wonderful. It was cozy. We got to meet a lot of big names in the pharmacy industry that are trying to change the profession from inside out and grow the profession and grow and evolve into something much more impactful for our patients. So, yeah, and also for fulfillment, right? Feeling aligned with the type of work that we are involved in and the type of impact that we want to be making, I think is really important. So I really appreciated everybody who came out as a guest or as a speaker. And I also encourage everybody to take advantage of the home study option that we will be doing really soon. I was able to claim my live CEs, so I'm happy about that.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, I know Chris is hard at work and we're trimming down all the Zoom links. So if you guys want to grab recordings, interestingly, this episode for me is inspired by something Maria and I really touched on a little bit during one of the sessions. So we had Blair talk during the session about some of the issues with sourcing cannabis. And he gave a really in detail. I mean, you can tell the guy is a PharmD PhD from his style of presentation, which was fantastic. But we're going to go into some details on how do we quality source herbals today, Marina? So where do we start with that and why does it matter?
Yes, I love talking about this. Of course, as you know, Kevin, we can go on and on. But I think it starts with quality ingredients first and foremost. You need good ingredients for a quality product. And with herbals, it is a little bit more difficult because there's inherent variability in soil quality and sourcing and also the distance traveled, right, to your little bottle into your home. So I think knowing your supplier really matters and forming those relationships really matters because the field, as you know, is inherently unregulated. It's regulated much like over the counters, which means essentially that there's not much problems or barriers to entry into the market. And there's only ever really investigations about quality and about, the manufacturing process when an issue arises or is reported to the FDA, and that's when they really take it into account. But companies can voluntarily participate in third-party testing, which is something you can look out for. And of course, like I said, the relationships, right? Going to your farmer's market or checking out the local growers or getting into a crop share alliance with both your food or your herbs is something that can really help you get the most direct contact to the ingredients, right? Which means there's less of a supply chain and issues that you have to worry about at each phase of the supply chain. So when it's between you and the product, the more direct it is, I think the more you can be sure of what you're getting. So if you don't have that information upfront about a company you're considering sourcing from, you can really form those relationships, email the company, ask for a certificate of analysis, ask for third-party testing, go on site if that's available. So if you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty and really trust the supplier, you can do all of that.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on that, we talked a little bit, and I think Blair, Dr. Curlis, he did a wonderful job of really showcasing that getting to that source, like that point of like a natural, unrefined product, really takes away a ton of issues that you may encounter and you might not think of. So some things are extraction processes or purification processes that actually adulterate what we're trying to get from the individual herb or substance, is one thing when you're exposing something to heat or extraction processes or other chemicals you may be introducing. And so I love that Marina points it off right away. And the next piece is something that we talked about is a little bit about testing. So yes, you can have testing happen by the individual manufacturer, and then they can give you percentages that or concentrations that your individual product will contain of a given herb. But unfortunately, we found, and studies have shown, and lawsuits have shown, sometimes those aren't accurate. And so that third party testing can be huge. Who do you trust, Marina, when it comes to third party testing, and who do you look for?
Well, one company that I know has been doing this work ever since I was in pharmacy school and taking drug info is consumerlabs.com. So it is a paid service, and it's not like all inclusive and all comprehensive, meaning that you need to go look at particular brands and they might randomly check specific products from that brand. So you're not going to get like a database of anything and everything, but they do like surprise testing, of different batches and different product lines. And so it is that third party verification system. So if it's lacking, they kind of go out and they see, okay, does this supplement actually contain what it's labeled to contain?
Awesome. Yeah, I think that, like you said, I think Consumer Labs and USP are the two that are just like implanted in my mind, that I'm looking for those seals, on individual products. And I think that is one fascinating thing that we have to get better as both consumers slash patients and clinicians, is actually looking, to be able to see that third party element. It's easy to say it and it's nice lip service, but I think actually doing it is a whole nother piece. How do you start training things that aren't related to any labs or consumer elements? You said going to a farmer's market, Marina. What are the things when you're picking up herbs at a farmer's market location that you're talking to the growers about, and things that you're doing after picking up a raw product to make sure that you're keeping your family or patient safe?
Yeah, so something that I encourage people to do again is local and organic as much as possible. And also understanding that not everything labeled organic is necessarily the best quality, because they could be using organic pesticides and fertilizers and things like that and still be labeled organic. And also, it's a hoop to jump for small farmers that may be doing the right thing, but they just don't have all the equipment and all the necessary money up front to get certified, because that's a whole process too. So again, just asking those questions about how these herbs were grown, where is your farm located? What do you do for extraction if it is a product? Reading, of course, the labels too. So really just getting a conversation, and then also taking a look at the product to see, like, with your pharmacy mind, and you're really evaluating, right, what you would look for any over-the-counter product, right? So making sure you're asking about the inactive ingredients too, making sure that the person is aware of labeling requirements and that's on the product, right? And if not, maybe educating them too, to make sure that everything is labeled accordingly, so that future consumers can be aware of what is in there.
I love it. There was a user question. I'll get to just one section they kind of asked about, Marina, and they're really looking for someone who like uses natural products to reduce the pressure in the eyes to prevent more glaucoma or glaucoma related issues. So my question with this kind of episode with that question is, when we're looking for products and we're sourcing products in general, that is one fascinating thing in this market. As you mentioned, there is no NDC. And one reason that an NDC matters is there cannot be drug like therapeutic claims. And so when that's being said, if we're looking for products to be able to treat something, and we've seen through a natural medicines database that it helps with one disease state versus the next, how do we source something that we're trying to look for a therapeutic benefit when we're looking into an individual product?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, you can use references like the NIH, right? National Institute of Health. They do have a whole natural supplement department and resources, and it's very much evidence based, as well as, they include some stuff about traditional uses. And of course, working with a clinician or somebody who is clinically trained to evaluate natural products, like an herbalist, I think is two really important things. So either a naturopath, an herbalist, or anybody with additional training on herbs specifically is a good starting point. And then if you are starting with the product, again, having that relationship with the maker, the grower of the product, to get those resources, sometimes they will have studies on their own product, whether it's a proprietary blend or a single ingredient product, for if it's not a disease claim, which it cannot have a disease or treatment claim, it can still have a structure function claim. So it could actually have studies that says that it does support, let's say, normal intraocular pressure. So you want to look for those things.
Got it. That makes a ton of sense. That is an interesting way for a patient or clinician to go about that kind of search when they can't find the actual therapeutic benefit, but maybe a mechanism of action or something along those lines to be able to look into. And you know who's really good at knowing those things, Marina?
A
Pharmacists.
pharmacist, yes.
So thank you so much, Marina. I know we're running up on time here. Any other things that you wanted to address? The only thing I just flashed in front of the audience was just a list of resources that Marina and I kind of looked through. That was from let's see, cancerchoices.org is where I pulled it at the bottom of the screen there, but you can find lots of great resources online.
Yeah, I think we're going to get more and more, regulations perhaps, or more and more certifications around herbal products. So I'm excited to see where the industry goes. It is a growing industry. I think, again, you start at the individual level and educating yourself and talking to these makers and growers. And sometimes it will take some establishing those connections and that rapport and choosing professional grade supplements, like brands that have made a name for themselves, that have initially been only, available at doctors' offices, but maybe now are available outside of that and in pharmacies too. So talking to your regular doctor or regular pharmacist could be a good, segue. And also just letting them know that you are interested in these topics would maybe allow them to get further educated on this. And when a brand name, even if it's referred to as supplement, is well respected in prescribing, in practitioner circles, that means that there's probably a lot of data behind that and a lot of clinical data too, and experience from these providers that are, recommending these things. So that's another way. So let's say if you do a virtual dispensary, like Full Script, for example, and I could drop a link there, and you see everything that they chose to source, or a good wholesaler too, who chooses quality things. That's another way to kind of see what is already kind of established as an industry standard. And then one more thing I'll drop into the chat. There is a certification program through NSF that will test supplements and certify them too as something that they deem as good quality. So I just dropped that in.
That's perfect. Yeah, I think there's a really interesting product market fit here for both patients and for pharmacists in particular, is that this can be a lot of work. And sometimes the first place we go is the internet, and we just look up, I want this supplement, we grab something that's the cheapest, and that delivers to our doorstep, and we have no idea what is actually inside of it, or we haven't done the research behind it. And I think there's a really good bond and relationship that can happen between pharmacists in a community and the community itself to start sourcing these things together, keeping them in one location so they can be validated, and then making sure that these individual herbs are then compared to their entire drug regimen so we can get a good fit overall for these individual patients. But Marina, thank you so much for another wonderful episode. And anybody else, you have any questions, hit us up here on Marina's channels, on RPH Ally through the Herbalism channel. If you want to grab those recordings from the soiree, which once again, I can't talk highly enough about it, go over to RPH Ally, and those tickets are still available for you to grab the CE and to grab those recordings to watch through them. Marina gives an incredible conversation about herbalism, and she goes over about an hour and a half's worth of information in 30 minutes. And does an incredible job. And so everybody, I encourage you there. Once again, Marina, have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.